Today we'll be repurposing a cheap van rack from Amazon to use as a roof rack on the Land Cruiser, which will save us thousands of dollars in the process. We'll be installing a new rooftop tent, and then we'll head out to explore and find an awesome campsite on a solo camping trip. The stock roof rack on a Land Cruiser is pretty much useless. It holds no weight and it definitely can't fit a rooftop tent up there. So my idea here is to spend as little as possible, about $70 or so, in order to fit a stronger rack up here without breaking the bank. Well, you don't have to have an eye for design to know that this rack right here looks absolutely terrible on the Land Cruiser. So what am I doing? Why did I install a van rack on the Land Cruiser that can clearly support and hold ladders and lumber for a vehicle that's never gonna take ladders and lumber anywhere? Well, let's talk about it. So it basically comes down to cost. Of all the things that cost thousands of dollars for these Land Cruisers, one of the things that I just can't get behind at the moment are $1,000 to $3,400 racks that are just aluminum extrusion and aluminum bar that mount to the gutter rails here. And that's a lot of money for something you're not gonna use a lot. Unless you are, then I guess it is worth the money. But I'd rather put $1,000 into tires and wheels and lockers and stuff like that before spending it on a roof rack that's gonna get used once in a blue moon. So maybe it's something I'll do in the future, but definitely not today, because all I need to do is just mount something to these rails in this video. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna lob this off right here like that, so that I get rid of this ear, paint the whole thing black, and then I'll be able to mount what I need to mount for only $80 instead of $1,000 minimum. So as I mentioned, the idea here was pretty basic. I didn't want to spend a ton of money on a rack, so instead I spent $70 to repurpose this van rack. It looks atrocious on the Land Cruiser, so I want to lob these ears off. And after looking at it, I decided that I only really need to use either the first or second mounting holes, so we're working to build this in a way where we keep those. And once that's done and this is painted black, it's gonna end up looking pretty good on top of the Land Cruiser, probably better than the factory rack did up there. And also, I noticed that the listing on Amazon said this was stainless steel, but I'm not entirely convinced because it was really easy to grind and it didn't have any issues welding. So I guess we'll see. Well, now you know why we had to make that rack for the Land Cruiser, and that's because today, obviously, we're installing a rooftop tent. This is an EZUNSTUCK brand hardshell rooftop tent, and the thing that I really like about it is that it's only 4.8 inches thick, so it's gonna have a really low profile on the roof of the Land Cruiser, which really matters because it's already top heavy. We need to keep things down up there. And it's also only 131 pounds, and this is the large version of the tent as well. So this is an all aluminum construction, And just to be totally transparent, they did reach out to me, and this is a complimentary tent. So this video is sponsored by EZUNSTUCK. If you guys are interested in this after you watch the video, you can go ahead and click one of the links in the description below. And if this video is out around Black Friday time, I think they're doing a $200 off sale as well. So today we're gonna work on unboxing this, installing it on the Land Cruiser, and taking it on a cold weather camping trip. Let's get to it. One of the things that my wife always says is trust nobody, because every time that we go out to get food, they get her order wrong or just something else like that. So before we start tearing into this and installing it on the Land Cruiser, we're gonna make sure that they got our order right and that we have everything required out of that packing list. All right, so the first item on the packing list is the limit belt. That is this orange ratcheting strap right here. Then we have the ladder locking straps. Those are already on the tent right there, as you can see, locking down that ladder. Number 3, we have the gasket right here. This looks like it might be some 3M backed gasket material. Pretty cool. Waterproof shoe bag. I believe that's in the tent because I definitely don't see it here. So I guess we'll see later in the video if that's just inside the tent. And then all the hardware for the bolt, the nuts, the special bolts, the connectors, all that stuff, the metal ring. It's all right here. We got all the hardware required right there. We have 2 ratcheting wrenches right here. Don't need them, but appreciate the free tools. And then we have the outer tent poles and auxiliary rod, and we have that and that. So we are ready to go. Let's install it. So you may be wondering why I already have the tent open, and that's because this is a 2022 model EZUNSTUCK tent. The 2023 model has 2 detachable side window awnings, and luckily they make this kind of reverse compatible, so you can buy a 2023 kit and install it on a 2022 tent. So that's what we're going to be doing right now before it gets put onto the Land Cruiser. And I believe all 2023 kits should already just have this installed, so this isn't something you normally would have to do, but we're gonna do it just to have those cool features. All right, so this is not rocket science. You have a bracket that 2 rods go into here and here. It doesn't even really need to be centered or in any specific area. We're not building engines, we're just riveting in a support bracket. So I'm gonna center it right here, pull it a little bit off this back plate, and then just punch some areas for me to drill through. That one's off center, doesn't matter. And then we're just gonna drill these holes, rivet this thing in, and then we're done. We have a place for the awnings to attach. All right, so here's the Rainfly installed. I think on the 2022 model, you still get this front awning area here, but the side awning is new, and that's what we installed. So you see the little metal rod, like you always use on normal tents, just goes into that little area that we riveted on right there, and we get the window awning. So I do believe that normally you would still get this front awning because this is just built into the rails. So this has like a little square block that goes into the rail underneath here. Let me see if I can show you. Basically like that. So it goes into the actual rails under the tent, and that's what supports this rod for the front awning. So I think at this point we're ready to toss this thing on the truck. Oh, did you? Yeah. Okay. I don't care. Alright. Let's see what we're working.
Get your German, what do they call it? The German torque wrench out.
Oh, good and tight, yeah. All right, so I wanted to see how fast I can deploy this tent for the first time. Now, I'm using my phone as a microphone here since you guys definitely can't hear me over there, but the only time I've opened this thing was in the garage when we installed those brackets, so I want to see how long it would take for a person totally new to this tent to open it, deploy it, and make it ready to be camped in. So let's start now. All right, so first thing we have to do is unhook this ladder. It's held up here by a ratcheting strap. Well, not really a ratcheting strap, but a strap with a buckle on it. And then I think there's 5 of these little latches around here. Yeah, there's 5. So I just got, well, that one came off on its own actually when I undid the other one. So that's all 5 open, and then at this point we can extend this ladder. We're gonna kind of use it as a lever to open this tent. Now, this is a really tall vehicle, so a little bit more challenging on something that's almost 7 feet tall compared to something that's smaller, but looks like it's still opening pretty easily here. All right. Okay, so I mean, besides installing the little rods that pop the awnings out, tent's deployed, we're ready to go. So like a lot of other rooftop tent models, the ladder supports a large amount of the actual rooftop tent itself. When it unfolds, the ladder is a support brace. So what they included in this kit for the tent was this strap that kind of triangulates the ladder to your wheel, as you can see here. So this is really nice. It makes the ladder really sturdy. It's not going anywhere. And right now, if we were camping in the summertime, we would just be ready to go. We could camp like this, but since we're gonna be cold weather camping, we're gonna install the rainfly, pop the awnings out, and then we'll take a tour inside. We got the awning up on 3 of 4 sides. Don't think we need to really do the back side, but now that the rainfly is installed, it should be able to close with the rainfly installed since they do ship that way from the factory. And yeah, I think we're ready to hop on in and see what it looks like in there. With the tent set up, let's go ahead and hop inside and do a quick little tour, and then let's take this thing camping. So upon first entry, and sorry it's dark, it's getting dark outside, so we have the exposure bumped up, hopefully you can see, but we have a pad in here, and it's not super thick because it does have to close with the tent and it folds over like this. So it's actually, let's see, it's actually decently comfortable. We'll probably add another pad just to get a little bit more comfort, but for what comes with the tent, this isn't bad at all. Looks like we have some pockets for our stuff in the corners, and there's another one over there, but you probably can't see it. And then we have some little straps and hooks on the roof to put our lights or lanterns or anything up there. And we essentially do have 4 windows in here. We have the front window, the back window. This back area opens up as well, but we don't have the awning put up. And then the door that I came in could be considered a window too. So we could have a lot of good light coming in here and nice panoramic views. Now, another thing is that the windows do open up all the way, so you could pull the screen all the way down to get directly outside of the tent if you needed to. So that's an option, and it's that way on all 4 windows, of course. And there is pretty decent room in here. You could definitely comfortably sleep 2. If you had to, you could probably sleep 3. So yeah, that's the quick tour. Let's take this thing camping. All right, we are on the road looking for a campsite today. Now, to be totally transparent, we were out here yesterday, but we had to actually come back home because, as some of you may know, we have a new puppy, and we tried to take him camping, and he was just too much. He was digging holes everywhere. He dove into the Payette River. He was gonna be freezing cold all night long. Speaking of puppies, there's a dog on the road right here. Give me a second. I just wanted to make sure he didn't run out into the road. So I just had to slow down right there. But we had to come back home because there was just no way we were gonna get him to calm down in that tent, let alone have to carry him up 7 feet into the tent. So we just decided to call it. And we also, well, I fell into a hole and twisted my ankle. So it was just, oh man, it was just all around just a terrible night. So I'm coming out here today solo camping, and I do have work tomorrow, so we're gonna have to leave probably before the sun comes up. And I plan to just find a place off the road. So that kind of sounds unappealing if it's a really, you know, populated area, but this is not. So it's gonna be right along the Payette. It's gonna be really nice if I can find a spot. And yeah, hopefully just a peaceful night of solo camping. It should be fun. Campsite I was at yesterday was all the way back here on this corner, and it's actually really cool, as I was saying, just off the road right there on the Payette River. But there's 2 people there on a Sunday, so I kept driving up the road here, ended up at this campsite, and it's not, you're basically staying in those lodges, which is not what we want to do here. So I'm gonna go back this way, because as I said, I do have to get to work in the morning, so I can't be like 3 hours out. So there's a campsite further back down this way, which isn't the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th place I would choose to camp, but it's something. So we're gonna head back down the road, get back going that way, and see what we can find. There's the campsite right there. You can see out my window. That's the campsite. That's where I was gonna stay, and there's already people there. So unfortunately, well, they might look like they're leaving, right? They don't look like they're gonna stay there. Maybe they're just parked. Maybe I just go. Okay. We're pulling back up to that campsite right now. I drove past it on the way back down, and I noticed that the people that were there were gone. And all that I saw there now was one of those Rivian EV trucks. And I don't think those people are gonna camp here. They don't look like they have a tent or anything set up, as you can see. So maybe I just come down here, set up my tent, and see if they end up staying. But it's gonna get dark pretty soon. It's already 4:30, so we're kind of fighting the clock. I actually don't even see them inside of their truck, so I think they just might be fishing on the river or something, and we might actually be able to get the campsite that we drove all the way out here to get. All right, the people in the Rivian left, and actually seeing this parking spot now, maybe I should just move my Land Cruiser over here. This is a pretty cool little spot. People left their trash here. That's always a sad sign, but pretty cool campsite, as you guys can see. It is just off the road, but you can see that we have essentially 3 campsites, one here, one there, and then one over there, which is where we were last night, which is also where I fell in the hole and twisted my ankle. It's my own fault. The dog was digging holes, but I was digging holes too, because I was trying to grade out an area to put the ladder of the tent, and then I was chasing the dog to get him to not run in the street, and then I fell in the hole and cracked my ankle. It was a whole thing. So here's the hole that I twisted my ankle in, and then over here is where Hurley, our dog, dove into the Payette River and caught a worm, but then in the process got himself soaked, so he'd be freezing, and he was digging holes all over the place too. As you guys can see, there's just holes everywhere that he was digging. But yeah, really, really beautiful campsite. I'd like to park over here, but this sand is really soft, and yeah, I just don't feel like dealing with it. Everything's gonna sink into it, so I think I might just stay where I'm at. I might also reposition to the spot over here in front of the Land Cruiser, but we'll see. So when we were here yesterday, I already moved all of this firewood from this site that we're at now to the other site because I thought we were camping over there. And now I have to move it all back. And this wood is pretty wet, but once we get a fire going, we'll be able to burn it. We're supposed to get into the mid-20s tonight, so it's not particularly like nail-biting cold, but it's not essentially warm either. So I can already see my breath as I'm setting up the campsite and everything. So it's gonna be a little bit of a chilly night out here. And man, where are we? I think we're in Cascade, Idaho. All right, sun's going down. It's about 6 p.m. and sun is almost fully set. Start on dinner here pretty soon. We're just gonna do something really basic, just make some hot dogs, and then we're just gonna hop into this tent. Probably go to bed really early tonight. All right, it is hot dog time. I'll tell you, it's a lot harder to get a fire going when it's this cold and when there's this much moisture in the air. A lot of respect for, oh, good thing those were in the package. I was gonna say, got a lot of respect for people that winter camp and do it in like a traditional sense without any assistance, because I had to use lighter fluid to get that fire started and actually, you know, going to the point where it is now. Don't think I would have been able to do it without that. And I even had firewood. I don't know, maybe I'm just not a survivalist. Or definitely not, but that proved it. All right, as I said, a simple but good dinner. It does the trick. Welcome to my my little home. Here's how I'm set up in here. It's actually really roomy. You see I'm over here in the corner, and over there we have the Muscle Milk bottle and my shoes. You know what that's for if you're a guy. Normally it's a Gatorade bottle. I'll leave it at that. All my personal effects over here. Brought my laptop for some YouTube I need to catch up on and all the other stuff, some Cheez-Its of course, and yeah, you can tell if you had another person in here, maybe a dog like we planned to, you could definitely sleep comfortably in here, no problem.
Right into the bed of my truck. So that's something else we need to do before we can take off.
Well, I'm just chilling in here watching YouTube and Netflix, and honestly, it's really comfortable. It's really warm. I took the outer rain fly and the little areas where the metal rods prop up the fly, I took them out so that it would just close tightly to the tent, because I think that thing might have some insulating properties after taking a closer look at it. And I don't have any heaters in here or anything, and it feels pretty warm. The only thing that I've done is I've taken this hot hands thing and put it into my socks so that my feet stay warm. And man, I don't know. I'm having a great time out here. I think this might become something I do at like every couple of Sundays, or, you know, one Sunday a month, just to head to work, start the work week with the right mindset. This is, I don't know how to explain it. It just feels very, very peaceful out here. Oh, good morning. It is cold out here and still pretty dark at about 6:50 in the morning. Gonna get the Land Cruiser fired up, start warming her up right now, and then pack up the tent and head home. All right, let's see if she fires up when it's really cold. If not, I do have a lithium-ion jump starter. Let's see. Ooh, a little bit slower of a crank than normal, but definitely no issues at all. Starting up. All right. All right, guys, we are back on the road, and that is a killer way to start the week, if I do say so myself. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.